name is Nasir. Nice to meet you.
Likewise, nice to meet you.
Welcome to Shimoni in Swahili. The word Shimoni means the place of the caves.
Okay.
These are natural caves formed by the movement of the sea. Also, we have some other caves which extend some 5 kilometers inland. Okay. Due to siltation, the floor has risen, blocking off access to the further caves. What you see now is only the main entrance cavern. So here is where the slaves were kept with the Arabs during the 18th to 19th century before shipment to Zanzibar. These slaves were captured by the Arab caravans in hinterland, often after burning and sacking the whole villages in the most brutal circumstances. And they then eventually shipped to the famous slave market in Zanzibar for onward shipment to Arabia. Thousands died on their march, their bodies left by the roadside to be eaten by wild animals. Of those that did reach the coast, many never made it to Arabia, dying of diseases or just plain despair in the atrocious condition of the crowded holds of the slave ships. The sharks learned to follow in their way for the daily harvest of the dead corpses that were thrown overboard. So the slaves who were captured from hinterland were entered from the further caves. There are some other caves, we call them the 3 giant sisters caves. So those caves are connected to this one. So the slaves were entered from there all the way up to here. So this was a warehouse for the slaves. It was called a warehouse because the slaves were laid like goods. In front of us, just above, is a well with semi-salt water. There's a well in the cave connected to this one and sea. So when the sea is high tide, water comes up and its low tide, the level goes down. This water was used by the Arabs to give the slaves for drinking. So the slaves were given this water, so there was no other alternative. And their food was dates, the only food, nothing else.
Oh, dates alone?
Yeah. It is almost certain that these caves were used by the Arabs as weapons, where the slaves were held, pending the arrival of a ship to take them on to Zanzibar. There are some metal rings attached on the wall and some pieces of plastic chains found in the cave. So these sample plastic chains were found here. Obviously, they are used by the Arabs to tie a slave on the hands or rather on the legs. And these are metal ring or a metal hook. And another one are these broken. So a slave was chained like this and punished while others are looking not to repeat the same mistake. For example, if a slave was ruled, chained and punished, so it was the only torturing chamber for the slave. So it's a sad story.
Yeah.
It is high tide, water reaches in the entrance, but in late evening.
Late evening. What about now? Does water come up?
It comes, but not much.
Not much.
This is stalactite.
The caves are made up of beautiful coral rocks.
So watch your head.
Okay.
Keep back there.
So many bats are found hanging on the walls of the caves. The locals refers to them as fruity bats because they eat fruits such as apples, bananas, mangoes, pineapples, and pawpaws. They fly out at night to find food and come back to the caves in the mornings.
When the sea is high tide, water reaches near the entrance. So that was the only exit inside here, which was used by the Arabs to take thousands and thousands of slaves to go to the beach, then on board to Zanzibar. Due to sand which was brought by seawater, the floor has risen, so you can never go down to the beach. But the community is currently planning to dredge the sand so that the guests will get out from the beach. If you enter from the entrance there, So during the slave trade, the Arabs built barriers at the mouth of the cave leading to the sea, prevent water from entering inside. And when they left during the 20th century, when the slave trade was abolished, they broke the barriers and water started to enter inside. So the slaves were in dry places and they could be shipped at any time, as well as the cave was deep and wider, that was accommodating thousands and thousands of slaves. So let's go back to a local we come to worship so that we end up our visit.
Where the Kaya elders used to worship. This was before the Arabs invaded this place.
After the slave trade. The caves were used as kayas, which were shrines, and as a hiding place where the locals would go to avoid attack by other tribes. So kaya is a Mijikenda word, which means a holy place, where locals come to pray, for example, against Noren or breakout of any disease. So you can see this bottle with the red liquid inside is rose water. It's from rose flower. So this is a kind of sacrifice which was left by the locals. Okay, sorry. So at that time, during the slave trade, when the slaves were kept here, the cave was a sad place, but now it's a happy place because it's under community. All the money collected goes to the community. So it helps to buy medicine for local dispensaries, paying salaries to 16 teachers, as some of the teachers are being paid by parents, paying school fees to the bright students from the poor family, assisting in paying emergency medical treatments, providing food for the deaf unit, helping orphans and other community needs. So if you like to make a donation to the community, it's most welcome. But further assist our efforts. Thank you for coming and supporting our community. We hope you have enjoyed our visit, and definitely you tell your friends to visit Shimoni.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the tour.
Thank you very much.
We really enjoyed ourselves. Shimoni Caves. Indeed, I have listened, and there's a sad story of 10,000s of slaves being driven from the mainland into this particular place. They were chained, they tortured, they faced various epidemics, they were not able to get enough food. Most of them died. Some who were lucky enough to survive were shipped to Zanzibar, even to overseas, to countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, and India. This particular place was used as a waiting pen for slaves, for them to be shipped overseas, and some of these slaves were also used as porters to ferry goods. This place has been maintained, and I'm lucky enough to come to this particular historical site and just learn about what happened in the 18th up to the 20th century when slave trade was abolished. I would urge everyone who is able to visit Wasini to come to Shimoni and be able to be taken around this particular place, even assist the community to maintain this particular area, and just get to appreciate what ancestors went through.